All right, hi everybody, and everybody who is going to be listening to the recording. Most people know Dawn. I think pretty much everyone here we might have some new faces, Dawn? I think.
Yeah. I think so, yes. I don't know everybody.
Yeah. So Dawn I have had on a few times, and I will always have on until the end of time. Yeah, so yeah, expert past life regression, years and years and years and years and years of past life regression. Also, through even conversations that we've had, she's even drifting into more of the working with entity stuff as well, because it's not really done or talked about, but it needs to be when we're working in the more spiritual realm. So yeah, tonight Dawn, I'll get Dawn to introduce herself, and then you guys can just throw questions and stuff, because you're talking to someone that's been doing this for what, nearly 30 years, and not only that, growing up in this world from pretty much day one, really. Cool. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, beautiful people. Thanks for being here and hanging out with me. Lily Allen's in the house. Lily's done some beautiful work with me. She's an awesome past life regressionist as well. Yes, so for those of you who do not know me, my name is Dawn Grace Kelly. I run Light School, which is a global consciousness raising school for light workers. My passion is supporting what I call light workers, therapists, those of us who are here to bring about change on the planet. And I think most of you might be vibing in with that being a major part of your mission, if not your sole mission. So I started off as a healer. Well, I don't know, where did we start off? How far back do we want to go, really? But in this field, I started off as a healer. So first and foremost, I am a healer, but that's drawn me into teaching. So I think teaching is really my great calling. So, and I'm interested in those of you who are working with a lot of people, because we can reach more with this kind of knowledge. So I guess my work is psycho-spiritual. I do a lot in the kind of the psychotherapy kind of realm, but also with a spiritual overview of that as well. So I began in the early 90s as a spiritual healer. I was studying to become a naturopath in my late teens. So I've always had that interest in alternative healing, I guess. And then I got lured into the glamour of being a flight attendant, which I had fun with for about 9 years. Kept up my studies along the way. And as I was doing, I think it would have been massage training at the time, and exploring these different kind of alternative routes so I could leave flying, my massage teacher, who was a spiritual healer, showed me, he was doing some work on me, and he had his hands above my body. This is back in the early 90s. And it was the most amazing feeling that I had ever had. I'd never experienced anything like that, and I didn't know what he was doing. He was bringing in channeled spirits and working that energy into my body, which we all know now, you know, Reiki with the hands on. I think we all know what spiritual healing is these days. But I loved that, and I was already attuned to spirit. I was doing automatic writing and connecting with spirit after my brother, who's a few years older than me, passed away in his late 20s. And he came through and taught me this brought me this amazing connection to spirit, which then led to working guided on people. And because of that spiritual healing work and my passion and my kind of early success, I guess, with that, I ended up leaving my career as a cabin manager, an international cabin manager, to start my own private practice. And I have not looked back. And I imagine a lot of you are working for yourselves, if not all of you. And yeah, that makes me want to talk all about that, but that's not why I'm here. So it's pretty cool working for oneself, right? And we do have to multitask, don't we? So past life regression came onto the radar in those early days when I was reading all the books, like some of you might have done. Carolyn Ashton, hey. Hi, nice to see your pretty face. Yeah, reading the books and being interested in esoteric things. And yes, Justine's right. I was raised by an astrologer. My mother's an astrologer, and she's been studying metaphysical, esoteric things since I was, well, not since I was born, but since I was 7 or 8 years old. And I used to have to stand by the white door so Mum could practice looking at my aura. So these things have always been kind of on my radar. But yeah, I went and had a past life regression. I was super excited. I was living in Perth at the time. I thought it was only an overseas thing that you could do. And when I saw an ad for past life regression after reading all those cool books, I was in. And I loved it. I experienced 3 past lives in this lady's home. She was working in her home. One of them as what I call a star being or an ET being. So that was amazing for me to experience that and be right in that world. I mean, this work is, people think they might say it's like your imagination, and it totally is like your imagination, but not in the way we've been conditioned. We've been conditioned that imagination is some fantasy thing that's not valid, but it's a whole nother realm that is super valid, let me tell you. So I love that work, and I kept going back as often as I could afford to get more past life regression done, because it was fascinating to me. The content is interesting, but leaving your body, being in spirit, and looking at all the connections of how that relates to what we're doing today, really interesting. And this is a story some of you might have heard before. There was an advertisement in the Conscious Living magazine, I think it was called, in Perth at the time, for Reverend Neville Rowe to come out from the States to teach past life regression. And he was the teacher of my therapist. So I couldn't believe my luck that I could learn how to do this. So I signed up for Neville's training. And 2 weeks before Neville was due to arrive, he died. So I laugh now. It's funny because we're in this whole realm of there's more than just this existence, but like, don't die before you teach me. But in actual fact, Neville's taught me so much since he has died. So what my therapist did was she spent 6 months learning how to teach. She did some training, and she began an institute based in Perth to teach Neville's work. And I was in her first course. And I went on to do practitioner training, and then I went on to grab every pilot and flight attendant that I could to practice while I was on my trips and what have you. And yeah, I was kind of hooked. I loved it. And so that my work kind of moved on from regressions and healing to, and I guess I was teaching pretty early on. I do like to teach, especially when there's something I want to learn. I find it a powerful way of getting to know this stuff more. So I was teaching in Perth, teaching past life regression there. And then in 2001, I think it was, I moved to Nelson, which is where I am right now. And we've been here ever since, and I began my practice here, which has kind of morphed into more teaching and writing, and I still have a very small private practice because the work is so damn interesting. So along with regression, along with past life regression, I do regression therapy. So I do a lot of trauma work in current life, other timelines, womb, other planets, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm also super passionate about tarot. I teach tarot. I love it as an archetypal symbology and a personal growth and healing tool. And yeah, Justine mentioned the entity work. That's something I have actually been teaching that for a while, but I haven't taught it over the last few years. So I'm just revising that and bringing that into an online format for my first online masterclass with that, which is in a couple of weeks' time. And if you want to know more about that, we can talk more about that. What was the question? Did I answer it?
Yeah, so for people so there will be, I know most people in here are doing either past life regression or know about it or have experienced it. But for people that do jump on HNZ and have never experienced it, a couple of questions, just explaining what it is, why people tend to come to you? I know some for curiosity. Yeah, what kind of things you do with it, and just, any cool stories, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, for years they would mainly, like back in my earlier days, they definitely would come mostly 3/4 maybe out of curiosity. But of course, my private practice is so small now, so it's tends to be therapists that know they've got to do deeper work, or it comes up for us that we need to go back further. So you asked why do this? We've got a root to all of our issues. I mean, you're all hypnotherapists, you know that. There is a root to all of our issues. And it's not like the medical paradigm says, that there's a psycho-spiritual root to every mental, emotional, and physical challenge that we have. Working in this field for decades, I don't know, you've done training, you've read the books, you've all got experience. That's just truth. There is a root to it. Issues do not surface on the physical level. They surface mentally, and then they become emotional, and then eventually, if you're not dealing with them, they land in the physical body as something quite solid and third dimensional. So I want to get to the actual core of this stuff. I'm not so interested if it's in a past life or not, but I tell you, I'm bloody happy I've got those skills, and that I've got those skills to be able to teach that, because we need to know, if it is that far back, we need to know what to do with it. So essentially, I'm looking for the root cause of what's going on, and I don't really care where it is. And I use regressive therapy as a way to go back in time. And what I find is, if we are working in childhood, which we need to do that work, I'm passionate about that work, it must happen. We usually need to go do the work from our childhood trauma and the root past life stuff that had us incarnating to wrap this stuff up in this lifetime. So doing the past life work sometimes will, I'm talking purely about our trauma as a young person here, it will sometimes completely heal it, but more often than not, we've got to do the integration work in bringing that wounded child home as well. So I'm often doing both. And sometimes I will do this work because we've integrated, we've healed, we've done some powerful, what I call inner child work, or work back in time, yet the issue is still lingering around. So we go to a past life and we nail it, issue done. So I guess, having been in the field for so long, I keep doing this work because it works. It's transformational and it's really powerful. So that's sort of a waffly answer to your question, Justine, but I think on a simple level with that question, people come, away from my practice, that they come to this work because they can't find the answer to their problem any other way. They've looked at their water phobia with therapists and counsellors and maybe even hypnotherapy, and it hasn't worked. And I'm not saying that you haven't had success with hypno with water phobia before, because you totally could do that and should be doing that. However, if the root is back when you drowned in the 1500s, you're just not going to heal that without knowing it. So I work in a way that gives us plenty of room to land wherever we need to land, where the root is. So the work is classically good for fears, phobias, relationship issues, physical problems, emotional issues, spiritual problems, depression, anxiety. I do this with my trainees in level 1. We spend a bit of time brainstorming out what we could do with this. And, Lily and Carolyn, you will remember that it's bloody endless. We end up with a whiteboard with so much stuff here. It will go to the root of literally an endless list of physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual issues. So things you might not even think of, like a phobia of pens, people who freak out when they pick up a pen. Doesn't happen to many people, but I've bumped into that. So random stuff like that. And also classic things like phobias are classic, like claustrophobia and fears of water, like I said, and the fear of large animals or cats, or and then things like asthma are kind of classic as well, where we find ourselves back in a past life where we've been where we've died with dust or what have you in our face. That's pretty classic. You'll read plenty about that online. So there is some classic things that it works with, but it literally works with everything, which is why I believe it's such a powerful tool to have. Now, another thing that's happening is therapy. That's happening more now. It's always happened, but way more now. Therapists are finding people going into past lives and they're not expecting that was going to happen. So your client knows where they need to go. And if you've got a few skills with this, you can shift this pretty easily, because the work isn't just being in a past life. That is interesting and it's good for curiosity, and maybe even cool if you're doing exploratory work, you know, if you're wanting to explore. But I use this as therapeutic work. So being in the past life doesn't do the healing. There's way more to it than that. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I guess there's another thing people come for, which I know you would get a lot, and I think that might be when I first met you and I came for a session, is to do with blooming connections with people, especially connections that maybe, you know, you have a connection with someone and you shouldn't be having that connection, or you know how you know. I do know, because it reminds me of a situation of my own that I had once. But yeah, people do come wanting to explore relationships. That is definitely something. Yeah, that would be a fairly common thing that people come for, actually, to explore what's going on in my marriage. Why does this stuff keep happening? Or why am I attracted to so-and-so? And yeah, that it brings to mind this attraction that I had to another guy like 15 years ago. It was an intense attraction. I never wanted to do anything about it. I love my husband. We're happy together. So it wasn't like my old days where it's like, I just got to be with this guy. I just felt such a deep, deep connection to him, and it was annoying and frustrating. And, you know, I was like crushing on him all over the place. And I had a sense to do a past life regression. I think my brother, who does the work, he did a regression for me. And sure enough, he was a little dynamic. There's a few people I knew that were in this life. And I don't even quite remember all of the content, but with the nature of the content and his role in that life and my role in that life, it made complete sense that I would be attracted to him now. And when I did the psycho-spiritual work to shift that, it was completely done. It completely, instantly changed. It was such a tangible, in my face, recovery from my crush. So yeah, relationship stuff, definitely. And this brings some amazing shifts to family relationships and close relationships. Once you realize, for instance, that person killed you once before, which is why they're all over you this lifetime, and you can't get any space because they're trying to make up for it. You do this work and suddenly the boundaries start to change and relationships start to change without your close one doing any of the work, actually. Yeah. Cool. And that people ask, I know with me, like we did say before, you were talking at the start about imagination. I know when people come and do past life regressions and stuff, they always are wondering, you know, is this real? Is this not real?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? What do you say, or how do you talk to people?
Yeah. And that's super common. Yeah. Look, we don't care if it's real or not. It doesn't matter, because the work's still effective. It's still actually happened. And, you know, maybe there's 1 or 2% of the time, well, not even 2, but maybe there's a tiny bit of the time where it is symbolic, where it has come into their mind because of the movie they watched. Although, you know, I don't see this in my field, but I don't rule this stuff out at all. But why is your mind bringing that forward while you're in an altered state? Why is all of this stuff coming forward and connecting with your present day life? Doesn't matter if it's real or not. You actually don't need to believe it for the work to be effective. You just need to be open to the process. So is it your imagination? Yeah, I think it is. Is it different to how we were taught imagination is? Very much so. Very much so. That world is real. And whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. I don't care. Don't fuss about that. You know, people who doubt the session, our ego will do that, and that's okay too. You know, they've just had this amazing experience and then they doubt it all and think, oh yeah, I think I pulled that in from the book I was reading. That's fine. Look, doubt is the ego's way of protecting us when our reality is being challenged. So doubt's a helpful protection, and that'll open up if and when it's ready. So is it real or not? Well, I don't know. You might have the kind of content that can be researched, like does often happen. You know, I've hopped online after sessions before and found that crash, the DC-10 that crashed out of New York in 1940 something or other. Found the passenger manifest. Things have all been marrying up. That's kind of fun. That's fun for the intellect if you get those kind of lives, and then you know it's real, and then you can put a tick next to your, is it real or not? Really, it doesn't actually matter. But I tell you, one of the things that helps people know that it's real is the emotions. When you find tears rolling down your face, it brings quite a real quality to what's happening. So I know in the majority of what I do, in the 99% of what I do, I know it's real. And my clients do as well. But yeah, it doesn't even matter if it's real or not.
I'll tell you a quick experience. I remember doing just a really quick past life and some training somewhere, and I went back to being a boy who was looking after like wild animal things. But when I walked outside, there were these big Greek pillars, and I even got the year, and I was like, okay, well that doesn't add up, because those kind of animals don't live in that kind of temple. And that kind of temple wasn't around in that year. So that was all rubbish. And then I was in Australia, and I was Googling this stuff online, and it came up that this guy in exactly the same year ran some kind of area, some famous guy, and he had imported these wild cats who the little space boys would look after. And the cats would, he would go into town with these big cats that would bring his coach carriage thing that he had made, because he was outgoing Greek dude, and it was just all there. And I was like, I even got the year right. It was just some random real small number, and I was like, no, it just didn't add up. But when I looked, it was insane. They had a picture of even the pillars at the front, and I was like,
oh, that's so exciting. I love that. And, you know, I find it fun to have a look. And I've had similar things happen where it's just like, nah, that couldn't be right. And then it's so interesting that I've hopped on and, oh my God, it's absolutely right. So yeah, that's fun. And that's fun for the analytical mind. But remember, what we're doing is when we're doing therapeutic work, we're looking for results. So whatever the mind thinks of it is kind of irrelevant, really. You just need to be open to doing it.
Yeah, very cool. Has anyone got any questions? I was going to say, I'll just let someone jump in.
Yeah, Lily.
I've not sort of received this at this sort of level, but where my ears have sort of pricked up more and more around hypnotherapy and the term completing the cycle. And I've sort of just been listening to you and thinking, actually, this is just another tool. Whether you want to sort of delve right in and kind of believe in, is this real or not? But even if it's just another tool for completing the cycle, that just sort of, I don't know, resonated very, very strongly with me. So I just thought I'd mention that. But on another thing with what Justine was just sort of mentioning, I had a kind of a similar experience. There was some confusion around when I was in a past life regression with another hypnotherapist, and what I was actually seeing was, the outfit that I was wearing, and then the outfit that the person nearest to me was wearing. They were from different eras, and I was quite confused about that. And so I asked about that at the end of the session. And the reason, or the explanation that I was sort of given, was that your higher self, or you can actually kind of see from different periods, like you're getting the information that you need in order to kind of close out that cycle or whatever the intention was for the reading. And even though I was in a different era of outfit to the other person, everything kind of married in, everything made sense.
Yeah,
so
that
can kind of show up as well. That I was just sort of mentioning that. As
yeah, that's really interesting, Lily. That is interesting. And it's not uncommon for us to have aspects of ourselves from different timelines in the same place that all connect together. And that, like what you found, it all comes out in the wash when you do the psycho-spiritual work afterwards anyway. So yeah, and completing the cycle, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what that means. That could have all sorts of meanings, but without a doubt, more and more of these other timelines that we're running are coming forward so we can clear and heal to be able to hold more of our own higher self without these more dense blocks that we've got in our body that don't allow that to happen. So it's really is a time for wrapping up karma. We're definitely, we've come into that time, and that's going to intensify more. So we don't have to keep repeating these cycles over and over again to get the lessons. Yeah.
I think what contributed to that sort of dropping in as it did was your mention about, you know, if somebody's killed you and they seem to be, you know, really close to you in this life, and that, you know, they're just a bit invasive, you know, they've not got good boundaries and stuff like that. I've had this experience in this lifetime, and so I was kind of laughing when you were mentioning that, and I thought, wow, that's just got really interesting. And I think it is, so when that dropped in for me, it felt like the completing of the cycle was that karmic cycle or that contract. It's just like that had to get cleaned up for the expansion and the involvement, which we're here to do as souls. So that's what it felt like for me. So I'm not trying to impose my beliefs and stuff like that, but I'm just kind of, that's how it felt, or what it
Yeah, you're right on the money, Lily. That's exactly it. That's exactly what's going on. You know, that's perfect. Totally. And that makes me want to say, I haven't said this to you yet, but I guess this is a key point of it really with past lives, is what we died with, the thoughts and feelings that we died with is what we bring into the next life. The unresolved thoughts and feelings that we have in those dying moments at the very end of that life, if we don't resolve those before we die, where our higher self's going to be drawn to incarnate again on that same theme and work through it. And I definitely know that we don't just do 1 or 2 lives on the same theme. It's madness. We go life after life after life after life after life after life after life on the very same theme, would you believe? We are really slow to learn, but that is changing. The acceleration of consciousness is meaning we're wanting, you know, depending on our level of awareness and how quickly we're waking up to who we really are, our consciousness is wanting us to integrate all of this. So it's all going to be happening very quickly, pretty intensely. Well, you probably know for yourself the healing work that you do. It's like back to back for a lot of us, right? Because there's this shift that's going on. So this is why people are accessing this work easier. Clients are accessing it quickly and more easily, because this is really important work that needs to be done so the karmic cycles can be broken, so we can all level up. So this is the work we're doing in past lives. We're looking, yes, we learn how to get somebody into a past life. Obviously, that's foundation training, really important. And we learn how to navigate within the life and how to work with all the different things that happen while you're investigating life. Yet the most important part is healing this. So we need to find out what these thoughts and feelings are just before people died. And I'm pretty fussy about looking at how they died as well. There is so much in how they died. And that often takes a bit more nuanced work to find out what's going on there. But those weak places in the body, those accidents, that disease or whatever's going on in the body, we usually find is an issue physically or energetically in that same region in current time. So we can do work with that when we know that. So once the client's experienced leaving their body, and as a therapist, you've got all that information of the kind of things you're going to be working with, we can do a bit of a review while they're still in character and get some more helpful information for their current life. But what we do is like voice dialogue. I don't know if you know voice dialogue work. It was big in the 80s. It's a psychotherapeutic work where you change seats to talk from a different aspect of yourself. So it's kind of similar to that. We separate from being the character and get to our aware client to dialogue with the character about how that energy is affecting them today. So I see this, and Neville saw this, like a spirit attachment, which is other work that I do. So like a spirit attachment in our field, yet it's another ego personality of ours from our higher self, but it hasn't moved on. It hasn't gone into the fifth dimension and beyond. It's still kind of earthbound and hanging around us saying, don't stand near the cliff. Don't go out. Don't get near a guy. Don't do this and do that, like protecting us in some way. So the same thing doesn't happen to us. Keep away from water because it's dangerous. You know, it's like a voice within us that's driving us. Or be angry all the time when you're around your family, because that, look what I've just been through. You've got to be careful. Keep them away. So things that were appropriate for that life, but not appropriate for this life. So we get some really interesting information, and then we do some energetic spiritual work to separate that aspect and move that into the light. And that is often a really simple process, and sometimes it's a really complex process that needs, you know, they don't want to go, or your client might be holding them for some reason. So there's a bit more nuanced work that can happen there. And then we look for karmic connections. We look for adverse karmic connections because we want good relationships today. So if it was your father that killed you, we want to do a short process with that to shift that energy and level that up and make peace with that. I guess ultimately it's kind of forgiveness work all around with a lot of depth, not just a spiritual bypassing idea of that, a really deep experience of forgiveness. And those karmic releases change up relationships. It's extraordinary, very powerful when you work on this level. And then we send, did I say that? We send that character into the light. So that is the healing. Once that aspect of you has energetically come out of your system and you understand what that's all about, and you're ready to let that go, and that's ready to let you go, the healing's done. So looking at the past life doesn't do the healing. Very interesting, but it doesn't do the healing. So there's a lot more work to do, which is why this process, in my opinion, is way better than some of the big name processes out there. I mean, getting into a past life is easy. You know, the Michael Newton work and the Brian Weiss work, they're good at getting people in. And I think obviously there's some healing happening in that realm. But I tell you that this is, you know, I've got close friends who do that kind of work. This is better. It's better because we're just getting this much more of a therapeutic, a psycho-spiritual therapeutic process that's energetic as well, rather than just information. You know, our head often thinks we've got stuff. And I guess every now and then we do. And you know, miracles happen and shifts happen because of other things that are happening in your energy field, because the timing's right for that. That's what I've noticed after, and I'm Dolores Cannon trained as well. So and I've got Brian Weiss's work. So I know all of this work. So yeah, I just want you to know, looking at a past life doesn't do the healing. And certainly being told what your past life is, no. I mean, that can wake you up, but how do we know that's right? It's got to come from within you. And I'm not saying the people who you know, I've got students who can easily pick up on people's past lives, but we want our client experiencing that, so there's much more depth for them. Yeah. Okay, that was a little rant.
I think, like you said, when the person feels the emotion in the past life and it's so freaking real, it just creates change, when you actually feel it.
Yeah, which brings me to another point, Justine. Thanks for that, because some people fuss about not being able to see in a past life. And, you know, sometimes for people who are used to inner journeying or guided visualization, hypnosis, they're good with visualizing. And it's helpful because we're so used to seeing, right? But I guess one of the questions is, what if I don't see anything? And not everybody does see something. Feeling is the way to go. It's not as dominant as a sense when we're doing this work. The visual is just because of the nature of how we operate in our human bodies. We're all about what we can see. Yet feeling has more depth to it, and we want to try and get our clients into a feeling state because it's deeply healing, like Justine said. So we may not see anything and just feel, and that's perfectly a perfectly great way to work. Yeah, so we can pick up this information with all of the senses, not just the eyes and the feelings. We get knowings, we get smells, we get tastes. Yeah.
So Dawn, the craziest past life someone's ever gone back to that comes to mind? Because I mean, we can have
so well, the one that comes to mind only happened a few weeks ago, and it probably is the most intense one. Certainly not. Yeah, you certainly want some experience to go through this, but yeah, my client entered the life as a child, and he was at night time in a meat factory, pretty eerie, finding his way down into a secret passage. It's already giving me the creeps. Can you feel this? It's like, you know, and into a room that he was familiar with, where there was satanic rituals going on in the room involving his family. His father was leading that. So it wasn't like he walked into the room and was like, you know, what the hell, where am I, what's going on? He was familiar there and he was welcome there. And it was set up as this is a very special ceremony, and he was familiar with all of this. That was the opening scene. And you know, I was with him for 3 hours, and it got pretty intense. So, you know, and he lived a long life in that life. I mean, this is pretty heavy and dark to be talking about that, but as you know, you asked about crazy, this was crazy stuff. And he found himself having to escape that by doing some of that stuff to get out on his own, which he did do. And he ended up living on the streets as pretty much a crazy person, heavily traumatized. I think that's right. He ended up in a brothel doing cross-gender stuff. He was pretty messed up in that life. And that was a really dense one to heal. And it was really connected in with some of the very disturbing visions he'd been getting when he does meditation work for years and years. He doesn't get that anymore. It was very painful for him. There was a lot of deep trauma and feeling coming out of his body, and it's brought an incredible shift. In fact, I need to write that one up because it was pretty intense. So yeah, sorry, I brought the energy right down with that one. So that's dense. But as far as crazy from the other perspective goes, I always think of my beautiful students is usually where it gets pretty crazy, when we're on other planets and we're doing our, you know, in my level 2 training, we learn about working with lives as an animal and as a non Earth being as well. So we get to experience other planets and some of that, and that's absolutely fascinating because we don't have any kind of framework for some of this. We're just learning it on the fly. But you know, things where students and clients sometimes as well have been like a rock and a tree, and geez, I'm thinking of one girl here. Here's crazy. This was pretty crazy in another way. She was a shoe. Crazy? Yeah, crazy. Like, how does all that work? So as we're exploring that, a leather shoe. So her consciousness was still in that leather shoe, and we went back and back to when she was the cow. And she had consciousness through every part of that process. And she had so much detail about this man who was She loved that he would polish up the shoes and really care for them. And this whole thing, you know, her dying experience was when those shoes were thrown away completely. And after a period of time, her consciousness just faded out of that because there was no interaction with anything earthy. It was just, yeah, isn't that interesting? There is consciousness in everything. Everything natural.
Yeah. And I suppose you can get a lot of symbology out of that one too.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, I mean, we love all of that stuff, the other planets and the animals and the plants. And I experienced being a snowflake. That was the most beautiful feeling, coming down through the sky, the most gentle, wonderful feeling. And when I touched the snow and my consciousness moved through the whole of the snow, oh my God, amazing. Such a beautiful experience. A short one, but really beautiful.
Good question to ask, because you did bring up one that was quite hard. With me, with any kind of regression, even past life regression, I'm real, like I say to people, it is so important to not play with past life regression, to learn it. Like my experience the first time I did it was I just found this random little tiny course, and maybe $10 course or something, and hooked up with a friend and gave them an allergy and couldn't take it away. And that's when I learned, okay, oh no, this person came out with a severe hay fever, had to go to the doctor, had to get meds, because we had gone into a lifetime where there was hay paddocks and loneliness. And I hadn't even done hypnosis. I was just being done. But now it's like it's so important to work with someone like Dawn and learn the process, so when things do come up like your hard one, that you know how to move situations on, move things on.
And look, it's really easy work to do. I mean, the training it's a breeze. You know, you're following a script, and once you've got those foundations solid and know how to navigate some of the tricky stuff, and you've got a few practice sessions under your belt, then you can go into more of the nuances once you've got that solid. It's so easy to learn. Lily, wasn't it easy to learn?
It was good, but I mean, you know, you're a good teacher. With, you know, I mean,
it's a pretty easy process, though. Yeah. So any questions? I've been talking heaps. Am I sparking?
I think what makes it easy is that it's interesting, to be honest, because I mean, you just end up being so focused in the process and then the story that evolves.
It's very interesting, and it's really intimate. Carolyn's nodding there too. It's really intimate work. In fact, I guess from everything I do, it's the most intimate work, because as our energy, as a therapist, our energy really blends in and goes right into the experience. So you're having an experience with somebody that they haven't consciously remembered. So you get very connected and very aligned together, which is quite beautiful. Yeah, you get quite a deep bond with your client going through this work, definitely. Yeah, so past life regression, look, I think it's a must know. But if you're interested, it's a hands down must know, because it's going to start coming up. If you're interested, if you read about this stuff, you're going to start getting clients that are going there. And I tell you, there's nothing like finally nailing the thing that you haven't been able to nail for your client because you haven't been working in the right place. You know, this 3D world it's so damn limited. Oh, Carolyn, you're jumping around in lives now. Carolyn, back down there. I can see you in and out of different lives with your backdrops. That's funny. But look, this 3D world is so limited. You know, we didn't come here from a 3D place, right? You don't have to be that spiritual to know that there's something spiritual going on, no matter what word you use. We can't fix it in this place because we've come here with stuff that needs to be sorted out. We've got to learn how to work in the past and in the future and in other dimensions, because this is where we're going. Yes.
Can I ask a question? Because obviously I've had past life regression done for myself and my own thing, but I haven't done any sort of training in it. But as you say, it does come up. The more that you do hypnotherapy, the more things just present themselves. I don't know if that's because it's the right time, the right situation. You know, I've had sort of situations where I've had a client and, you know, they've come in for, you know, anger or anxiety or whatever. And the next minute, you know, I've got this client and he's in, you know, he's deep in trance. And then he's got this Scottish soldier standing in front of him who's quite, because the date he gave me was the Battle of Culloden in Scotland. And he's standing there and I'm just sitting going, you know, what advice do you get people who haven't done the training? I think I cope with it pretty well because I've done lots of golden thread and just kind of not BS my way through it, but kind of just go with your gut and your intuition. But we ended up getting rid of the soldier, but he wouldn't let the sword go. The sword had to stay with him, and it was out the gate. And I'm just sitting going, I have no idea what to do here, you know, because I haven't done. And it's not. I wouldn't say that, you know, the past life regression is something that, you know, boom, this is what I want to go and do. I want to past life regress everybody. I mean, but everything is energy. Everything is connected from the Big Bang. You know, we're all stardust, if you like, you know, hence why I've got this, you know, the sign behind me. But it's kind of, what advice could you give to us kind of like people who haven't done the training when that kind of happens? It's just, you know, do you just fly by the seat of your pants and hope for the best? Or
all right, that's a great question, Carolyn. Yeah, really cool question. Thanks for putting that out there. Dimitri, it's nice to see you here. I haven't seen you for a long time. So what do you do if you haven't been trained? Look, I say get trained. I think you really need to get trained, but it's a smart question. I would hope that you would it's important to have some kind of connection I believe this, that your client, that you need to have them connected to their higher self in some way. Aren't going to know even what that is. So that's probably a whole conversation that needs to happen for the right kind of people, because the simplest way of working with this is, you could do this on the fly too, Carolyn, is to hand it straight back to them always, because they are their best teachers. So if they're going to connect in with their higher self, ask your higher self what we're not to miss about this. Ask your higher self what you need to do next. Ask your higher self what you're learning by seeing this. Ask your higher self how we're going to deal with the sword. Now, if they don't know higher self and you don't know higher self, maybe just start to consider a bigger, wiser part of us.
Well, one thing I ended up doing with them on a following session, because I've recently done the SP training, do you know what I mean? Sort of connecting to that higher self. And, you know, I know it's not the same kind of thing, but it's kind of, you know. It's
good. Yes, it's fine.
Yeah, so that's how I kind of sort of followed on from a conventional hypnotherapy session to kind of going like, let's get your higher self, let that higher part of you do what needs to be done, if you know what I mean.
Exactly. So look, if it was as random as what you're saying, and I didn't know too much about any of this stuff, I think the best thing would be to get them connected to higher self. And if that's a word that's going to freak out you or their client or your client, connect with the wisest, most spiritual part of you.
I think when the guy had the sword standing there, when people have got this kind of sort of freaky stuff happening, I think higher self is just, I think anything would go, wouldn't it, really, to be honest?
I agree. I would pause what's happening. I want you to concentrate and imagine your higher self, or imagine a wiser, more spiritual version of you coming into this scene. Feel it, feel that energy coming in, connect with it. Now ask the higher self what needs to happen next.
Okay.
So that's our training, because ultimately there's a little process that you need to learn to be able to shift this energy. But really, I guess the bottom line is we want the past life character moving into the light. So you want to create that little scenario somehow, and that will completely shift it. But, you know, there's going to be information and stuff that you don't have. I don't know. It makes me wonder whether I need to write some kind of little protocol for people who don't want to train. But anyway, I'll consider that. Yeah.
Oh, no, it's definitely something. I'm sorry to interrupt, but yeah, I think I probably do need to do that training for those situations that you've got that information, so that you're kind of do the best you can for your client, you know, and not.
Yeah, definitely, because if it's coming up to you, it'll come up again. It's not going to be a one-off.
Yeah, no, I've had a few crazy people, not crazy, but kind of a few out, more like not on the lines of a conventional session, shall we say.
Yeah,
They seem to be getting,
and remember
becoming
that,
more frequent.
Yeah, you're going to get more of them, I can tell. So remember, we always attract people who want what we've got. So you've got what they're after. So however you got yourself through that, you've got some skills. But essentially, you know, without knowing what to do, you want to get them working out what to do. You don't have to fully take control of it all. Just keep handing it back to them, to their highest, wisest self.
Yeah,
so
I like that. That's good. Yeah.
If you can't align them with their highest, wisest self, then that's definitely something you need to learn how to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good in that. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dawn.
Yeah. Rachel, were you wanting to say something? No, you're good. Okay. Yep.
With the other, because you also do, and I know that we've had lots of conversations in the last year about the importance of it, is getting into this other stuff as well, because when you work within the realms of, when you do spiritual work, but even when you do hypnotherapy in the mind, whether it's mind stuff or whether it's real or not, we do come across things that people would consider entities and energies within the person's system. I mean, I deal with it working with mental health, and I deal with it sometimes working in the realm of spiritual stuff. So this is something that we've been talking, Dawn, about. There has to be.
Look, some of us, look, earthbound spirits or entities or ghosts or whatever you want to call them, spirit attachments, all of these given, they're happening and they're super common. It's not just random. It's not just you random schizophrenic people. It's all going on in the mental health place with that sort of stuff, let me tell you. But this is super, 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 super common. And nobody even knows how common it is. You know, that they think they're addicted to alcohol, but really they're not fully in their body, and there's a spirit close going, another drink, another drink, another drink, you know, mischievous kind of spirits that like to muck around. Yeah, look, I think this work, obviously it's super important because it's a game changer, but I do believe that particular therapists attract this, and they're the ones who need to learn that. And, you know, and sometimes you might look at somebody and, you know, when it's really intense and that energy, like they're fully out of their body, you know, their eyes will even look different. There'll be times where you don't like, what's going on? This doesn't even look like them anymore. So, you know, that's a bit of a stronger experience. But yeah, basically, you know, we're third dimensional with our human body here. Then we've got a fourth dimension, which is pretty close to Earth, and that's where these energies are hanging out. And they're hanging out here because they're holding too much fear to be able to feel worthy of being in the light, or they're on some kind of agenda that keeps them away from that. So I don't know, look, there's not too much I can say like briefly about this topic because it is kind of complex, but any energy that hasn't moved over into what some people might call the 50th dimension and beyond is earthbound. That's where the term earthbound spirit comes in. That they're close to Earth, they're hanging around because they haven't made peace with something. They've still got fear, depression, anxiety, revenge for whatever happened. They're still dense. And they can, and they like to get close to bodies. You know, they can get a hit when you use your drugs. They can't get stoned, but they can feel that vibration. So addictions attract them. And the more we're out of our body, the more the body's available for spirits to jump in and muck around with, you know, partially or fully, if you want to go movie style, which isn't as common in our worlds. But, you know, these energies are in and out. And learning about those, what they are and why they are and what attracts them and what the symptoms are and what to do about them and how to clear a space. I mean, you've probably been into spaces where you're just like, well, there's ghosts here. Yeah, I'll just sort of leave them to it. But really, we want everything that's dense lifting up so we can bring more light here. So it's a fascinating thing to learn about, and knowing how to shift that. It's very simple work. And yeah, like I say, it's for those people who are drawing that to them, really. But you know, if you're really interested in that whole field, the whole spiritual field.
How do I sign up, Dawn? How do I sign up?
Oh, well, you can. Well, I'll tell you. I mean, that I've got that coming in a few weeks. So that's just an easy 2-day masterclass online. It's February 9th and 10th. Anyway, I'll give you can hop on lightschool.nz and just go to the school page and you'll find spirit releasement therapy, lightschool.nz. So yeah, we want to learn what attracts them and what the symptoms are and how to clear them from a space. And it's kind of foundation training, because I'll be going on to like a level 2 or a more advanced, where we can do work with our client and get our client telling us what's going on and support them to shift it. And yeah, just with that, I mean, shifting, it's not even all the work. It's definitely an important part of the work, but why are they attracting it? It's not some random thing that's happening. It's like, what's the attraction? Where are the gaps and tears in your energy field, and why are you leaving your body? And why does that energy resonate with you? Where's the attraction? So we want to do a little bit of deeper work, and that's for once you've got foundations sorted out. But yeah, I mean, we're in a light and dark war at the moment, really, an energetic war of light and dark. So the more we can hold light, the more we can shift these energies and level up this consciousness that we've got going on here.
Well, can I just ask a question? Just on that. I don't like the topic of entities. I don't know what's going on, but I don't know.
It's not a likable topic, Lily.
No. I've had well, apart from my childhood experience, I've had 2 experiences in therapy. One was actually the last day of our training, when I don't know if you remember, but when we did our final swap, the person that I swapped with, they had an entity come in, and I ended up actually getting you, and because I knew that entity had attached to their chest, I just had this kind of knowing, without kind of going back into it again. But obviously under training, you know, I need a little bit of guidance, which was great. We both had the same awareness when you came into the room, and we got rid of them. But it didn't feel to be a very pleasant one, and it took me by surprise. The other one was actually, the only other one that I've experienced is whilst doing the SWAN technique in hypnotherapy. And that was with actually a friend who she's kind of known as the entity queen. I don't know, she seems to have a fascination with entities and that. And it's just like, I have this knowing that I don't want to ever go there again, because I'm not a fan. However, I do want to sort of know what to do. So when you just mentioned, so just to kind of focus my question, when you just mention, it's kind of like, where have they come from? You know, what's their intention? What level are they at? As a hypnotherapist or somebody who hasn't trained, and I'm going to do the training, although, you know, I'm just not there yet. As a hypnotherapist, what would be your first sort of line of questioning? What would be the first thing that you would maybe recommend to manage that sort of situation when there was an awareness of that's what's going on?
So when you've got an awareness, or your client's got an awareness?
Well, both, I guess. I want to say, yeah, I'd say both. Yeah, both.
Okay, so if you've got an awareness there, you've got to make sure you're in your power, because fear is a problem with these energies. Fear is your main problem. You can't be entertaining that, or you're going to make things worse. So you need some spiritual savvy to do this. You need some faith that's real. Yeah, you need some real faith. So yeah, you've noticed that. So we'll say I've noticed that. Then I want my client to notice it. Yeah, I'm not so interested in just my noticings. I want to know what they're experiencing. So
Oh,
I
to
would be
clear, I wouldn't be suggesting that that's what I'm seeing, because suggestion is
You
very
would, no.
powerful. So, but that, yeah, so that's as in both. What would I do to manage that, within myself? But should it be an awareness of the client? What?
Yeah, look, there's many different ways. There's many different ways of doing this. I prefer the client to know what's going on. Yeah. And it's a much deeper way to work. So there's that, and there's a whole way of working with that. Away from that, if you don't want to be getting into that, then you can simply do some love work or some light work, because they don't like that. So if you're like, shit, this is happening, I don't want to be part of this, then get some light happening, get some love happening, call your guides in. If it feels too hard for you, bring in Jesus or whoever you're aligned with, and stay in love. That is the work. And you can see them in light and they'll kick and scream and struggle and go. They don't want to be part of light. But the work there, and then you'd be referring them to me or Justine or somebody else, because we really want to get into, well, why are you attracting that? I mean, I know it's going to happen again. If you don't go further, it's going to happen again. But just in the short term, get light, do it quietly in your head, say your prayers, get your big guides if you feel you need them, but really you don't. You can get into full power love yourself. Access that and get into your power and just do the work. Wrap them up in love and then carry on with what you're doing. And just park it. And if they keep coming, it's like, yeah, shit, I'm going to have to learn more about this stuff.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, thanks. Okay, cool.
So don't entertain fear. None of you. Just don't do that. Well, it's part of your training. I mean, I've entertained plenty of that in my younger years. I've used drugs extensively. I've had problems with drugs before. And they bring entities in. So, I've been pinned to the bed. I've had all sorts of horrible experiences. But they're training. I mean, it's training to get into your power. And, entities don't mess with me because I know how to hold love and I know how to be strong, and I can access that in an instant because of practice and because I've needed to. Yeah.
It shows the importance of doing your work yourself, hey? Because to be able to hold space and to be able to be in that space of no fear, you've got to sort your own. Hypnotherapists need to do their own work as well, and not have.
Oh, Justine, I can't stress it enough. It's so important. You are so right. Yeah, look, and that's been my biggest. That's why I'm as good at what I do as I am. It's not a course that I did or anything. It's shifting. It's constantly working with trauma and shifting stuff out of my body, which takes a lot of bravery and courage. To work with me as a client, you need a lot of bravery and courage. That's the sort of people I attract, because we're not just fluffing around, we're doing real work. And when that happens, it's instant. You hold more of your higher energy. There's more room in your body for light. And the more light you hold, the more powerful you are to work your healing magic on any entity, any client, any space. You can light that up and lift that up when you hold more light in your body. So the more you make peace with your trauma and forgive people and forgive yourself, the more powerful you will be as a light worker.
I mean, I prepare the room, do a cleansing, all of that. I come with very good intention, but if somebody is, and you say that, you attract what you need to work on, there may be an element of that. I don't know that that's correct in every case, but if that should present all of a sudden, it can come as a bit of a shock, which it has done.
Absolutely, especially,
like,
but
wow, I absolutely didn't see that coming. Maybe it's a gift for me to close out. I don't know, but it's definitely not something that I focus on much at all.
Okay, so let me just speak to a couple of things in there. So attracting it, I don't mean attracting it because you've got stuff to work on yourself. I mean attracting it as in you will know what to do. This is your lesson. This is your teaching. And if you, I mean, that could come into many therapists' rooms, Lily, and they wouldn't even know. How come you know? You know, you've got some spiritual savvy going on. There's stuff for you to learn for your professional work, for your spiritual work. It's being presented to you because you need to learn about this. You need to work out what to do with it. And a shock when it hasn't happened before, sure, that makes sense. Something completely different and something like not of this world. And yeah, I get it.
Awesome. Any other questions, guys? It's a pretty interesting topic. I was going to put Dawn on the spot, because not with entity work, because I don't think we should have a group invoke entity session. I'm joking. Let's do it. I was thinking like last year when you came on, Dawn, we did a group, just a nice little group regression one morning, and I was going to ask if you would be happy to do one of those for HNZ, just a little one again, because it was really awesome for people that are wanting to jump on and experience something little.
Yeah, sure, that would be fun. That's always fun to do. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that for you guys.
Organize a time, because that's pretty blunt. I remember I had a crazy experience last time, but that's another story.
Yeah, come into it. Yeah, regression's really so lovely to just lie back and be guided and just see what happens, and just quietly peaceful in your own home, having your own internal experience. Yeah, I'll do that for you. That would be fun.
Awesome, cool. All right, guys. It's 8. What I'm going to do is, Dawn, I'll get you before we finish, just to put your, if you go down to chat so people can copy and paste, just put your website and things in there, and I'll also share this later so people can have a quick
okay, so oh yeah, you might want the whole thing.
So I'll just turn this computer's thingy.
So is there anyone here that is actually interested in that earthbound spirit work? If you are, consider that, because when you hop on the site, you'll see the prices and things, and the prices are quite low if you've done past life training with me. But I think I'd like to offer a little discount for anyone who's keen. So if you are, talk to me and we'll get the normal price of that down a bit, even though you haven't done the past life training. I'll find a place in between there for you so it's a bit more affordable. And what else? Oh yeah, I've got past life regression training coming up at the end of March too, so you can see that on Light School as well. Only 2 places left though, so if that's of interest to you, consider that sooner rather than later if you feel super keen. There's so much I'd love to tell you about these things. It's such an interesting world. We're living in really interesting times. You know, the energies are changing, they're lifting. We're all accelerating and being able to access these spiritual dimensions quicker and easier. You know, having random stuff go on in your therapy room is going to be happening more and more while people are healing.
Hey, Dawn.
Yeah.
I'm just going to shoot off. I'll put you as co-host. I've just been told there's cops at the end of the driveway, so we've got to lock all the doors, that there's people on our phone.
Okay, you go.
So
Wow.
I'm going to get you co-host, and I'm going to run.
Yeah, okay. Good luck with that. Yeah, so really interesting times we're living in everybody, really. And as light workers, we just want to be doing our own work and helping people really get connected with themselves so they can level up as well. Any more questions about this work or anything else I do before we call it a wrap?
I just had one question. I just was looking at your website with the with the inner child work. What was that?
Yeah, inner child work. Inner child work is something we do in the advanced past life training, and I do offer it for therapists away from past life work as well. inner child work is important. Inner child work is where we're regressing back to trauma times for healing. So we're finding the places where we're wounded, and we might be actually fully back in that, or we might do it from a different perspective and observe that. But what we're wanting to do there is validate and empathize with this kid that was not seen and heard, the one that was abused, neglected. We want to find them and rescue them and bring them home to ourselves. Where's Claire gone? Oh, there you are. Things have moved around on my screen. Yeah, we want to bring them home to themselves. So essentially, I guess it's a reconnecting you with a younger part of yourself. You know, it's vital. It's vital that we make peace with all of these places and bring these kids home. So essentially, it's forgiveness work, it's reparenting work, and it might happen in stages. We might be able to level up our relationship with perpetrators via forgiveness. If we've processed the grief and the anger, we might be able to get to that place. But essentially, we're finding wounded aspects of ourselves and bringing them home and looking after them and feeling the feelings that were not felt, the trapped feelings. There's no way around that. You can't mental your way around feelings that haven't been processed. So it's holding space for trauma and healing it via regressive work or guided visualization or whatever, hypnosis, all of those things.
Oh, great. Thank you. Yeah, I thought it was that, but I thought I'd just find out what your training was about on that. So that's really good. Cool,
yeah,
thank you.
Yeah. So it's learning how to help people with traumas from this lifetime and how to hold space with big emotions, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Excellent. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay. Interesting stuff, hey?
I've just got another question if no one else has got a question. I just was wondering about the tarot too, because I saw that you do tarot training.
Oh, tarot. Well. Yay, tarot. Tarot is so cool.
Oh, yeah, I'm super interested.
Yeah, tarot is so interesting. I mean, it's fun for starters, but you know, when we've got symbols and colors and pictures, we can get out of our left brain. They talk to our right brain. So it means we can access a greater amount of information that's not logical and analytical. It can drop us into feelings, and it can connect us with our intuition. And these cards are so rich. So this is not oracle cards where you just draw one card. That can be fun and helpful and interesting. The tarot is really deep, and it goes back hundreds and hundreds of years, you know, 14th, 15th century, they say, but it's often talked about back in Egypt as well. So there's keys of our life lessons through here. I mean, you're asking me about a topic that I can never shut up about. I mean, probably like everything that I'm into, really. But tarot, you know, there's the major arcana part of the deck. They're the life lessons or the karmic cards. So it can show you about the big life lessons that you're going through. And then the minor arcana, the four suits of the tarot, they show us how we deal with that on an earth plane, on an emotional plane, on a mental plane, and on a spiritual plane. So I do use it therapeutically for readings, and it's profound. Yeah, tarot in two minutes. Yeah, so interesting. It's really great to use with clients.
Oh, great. Cool. Thank you. That's good.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
awesome. Just
another thing. All the cool stuff. I think we've covered everything. Any last questions before I wrap this up? Justine, anything else we want to put out there?
No. But it's the most, yeah, we've known each other for a very long time, and Dawn is amazing.
So good to share this stuff with you. As you can tell, I'm quite passionate about, you know, evolving ourselves as therapists, evolving our clients, and really lifting the energy up on this planet. So you've got all the tools to do that. It's all within you. All of the stuff I do, you can do. All of the spiritual stuff, it's all within you. You just need like a little bit of awakening, really. And I think even just talking about it's going to spark some of your latent skills and things you're aware of too. which is good. Enjoy that if it happens.
Awesome.
You can get in touch with me. My email address is connect@Light School, just connect@Light School if you want to ask any other questions. Facebook, I am my name. Follow that page. Oh, actually for tarot, totally follow that Facebook page, Dawn Grace Kelly, because I do tarot time every Sunday. Who watches tarot time? Does anyone see that? Do you know about that? You've got to see that. That's so cool. You can just pick a card, 3 cards. It's only just like a really short little video. So and you can pick a card for the upcoming week. And if you're interested in tarot, you'll get to learn a little bit about it that way as well. But yeah, that's where I post stuff. And same name on Instagram as well. All right. And if you are interested in the PLR training, the Earthbound Spirit training, yeah, let me know and mention that you were on this call and I'll give you a discount.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dawn, for jumping on today. And it's a conversation that really needs to be happening, especially, you know, these times.
These times. It looks like you've got a little cute spirit popping in and out there, actually. Thank you for having me and thank you for listening to me. It's over and out from me.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.